We made it to the finals. The final is on Crossfire Canal, and like I was saying just a minute ago, if Nexus of Reality wins this, he is crowned champion, wins the prize pool, and is one of the 3 players to advance to the Legend of the Stars finals tournament. If Ajax wins it, then he has to play again, because the winner of the losers bracket has to win twice to win the tournament. So we may potentially get one more game after this. Both of these players are going Seraphim. The map is Crossfire Canal, otherwise known as Pizza Place, depending on who you are asking. And it's a difficult one, not gonna lie. I do believe it is a 10k by 10k. I don't think it's quite big enough to be, no, it might be a 20 by 20. No. Someone correct me in chat. I need to know. It's big. That is the answer to the question. And Crossfire Canal can knock you for a tizzy because you have to balance your expansion on your home base, which takes quite a long amount of time due to the travel times of engineers. And you have to balance that out with your drops to go and secure the opposing islands. It turns into an interesting little bit. It is a 2020 according to Plasma Wolf. I knew it was large. So, looks like Nexus is going for first land, second air with a 7 power generator build, which is, of course, the minimum that you need to run an air factory and a land factory simultaneously when you do not have a hydro. And there is a hydro, but it is way far out in front, so you're not going to be able to get to it. Looks like we got the same 7 power generators going down for Ajax, who has also queued a 3rd air factory, probably because he is moving 2 engineers up to immediately build a hydro after some manual reclaim. Speaking of manual reclaim, there is a buttload of it. Quite a few large boulders, lots of tiny rocks. Don't forget about these that are scattered about in the gaps in the map. And what this is going to do is let players who expand more quickly, because the more of this reclaim that you lock down, the more stuff you're going to be able to build, which lets you move even further, and it kind of turns into a snowball if both players are not on the same footing. Sometimes I've debated, is it more advantageous to drop closer and try to deny, or to drop farther away and try to deny the closer expansion for your opponent, or is it better to drop closer and ensure that you have your own expansion? And I've never come to a good conclusion on that, so we'll have to see what these guys do. Let's see. Agreed, go Ajax. So apparently people are rooting for Ajax because finishing on this map is just sad. It's not that bad of a map, come on now. Navy can be extremely useful. The water is deceptively large in size, and you are going to be able to put cruisers up both canals should you secure full naval control. However, both of these players are Seraphim, which means that they are going to be able to stream artillery from one expansion to the next, and cause great heartache for those who choose to build their naval factories in the wrong location. You will have to excuse me if I start to ramble completely out of hand, because I am getting more delirious as the tournament goes on and as I continue to keep talking. D1 Air Scouts coming across, that is going to reveal what Ajax is doing just as the transport comes out to the factory. So now, well, I say that, it is going to loop over just as the air transport comes out of the factory. That's going to allow for a lock by this interceptor, which came out first. Nexus going for transport after the interceptor, which is going to let him drop to the other sides. But hopefully he will be able to kill this one, securing his advantage. So we got 2 air scouts coming out. Ajax now assisting his air factory to get an interceptor out sooner. Actually, that was another air scout, because he knows that that transport is now in mortal danger. Why are you continuing to build air scouts? There's the interceptor. Transport doing the twitchy micro that denies interceptors those kills. Basically, you force the interceptor to overshoot, and then you are able to catch up. Only he is going to lose this transport now that he's no, don't fly in a straight line. Don't do it. And he did it. So manual reclaim shall be his. Ajax, I am not able to quickly click over, so I'm going to have to wait a minute and then evaluate the economies once I go click into that. Ajax is going to be able to secure that, but he's not going to be able to drop on the main plateau and build all of those mass extractors, land factories, etc., etc. and gain an expansion. It looks like Nexus is going to be brave. He's going to drop here with 2 engineers, and then he's going to maintain 3 for the closer drop. Now, Ajax does have an air scout over here. He was anticipating something like this happening, I suppose, or at least taking preventative measures against it, and he is going to be able to do something about it. We've already got a T1 bomber out. It's queued over to this side. Air scout patrolling over top to maintain radar coverage. I am sure the bomber is now queued properly. Looks like those engineers are going to stay clumped up to a certain degree. No, they are going to separate. So Nexus is fully expecting a T1 bomber to come over, and he wants to be able to build this land factory post-haste. We're going to see if he's able to do so. I don't think he will. T1 bomber coming over. 1 engineer down. Land factory passing half health. 2nd engineer down. And some damage on the factory. Not good at all. And it looks like that 3rd bomb is going to get off. The engineer is actually reclaiming the factory to get the mass back out of it so that he doesn't waste anything on that expansion. And the bomber is going to succeed in a lock. We now have a bomber out here for Nexus as well, and it is going to be able to kill off one of the engineers, but the factories are already built. The damage is done. This expansion is going to belong to Ajax, who is now dropping with another transport in order to build on this side. However, the expansion was slower, so we'll have to see how that plays out later in the game. It would appear that we have frozen. No, we have not. We are continuing. Okay, so now we're actually going to see a little bit of a tipsy-turvy because Nexus is going to be slower to his 2nd expansion. And Zlo might be behind. That might be why we were seeing some lag. Looks like we got manual reclaim going down, and then our first 2 naval factories queued way off to one side. And that is so it's less likely that this is scouted, and hopefully the frigates can be built before the opponent can react. Now, T1 bomber is going to come this way. It does have 3 kills, but no veterancy, and it might be able to get yet another group of kills. There's 4 clumped up engineers over here. Oh, so tasty if that bomb was able to be dropped, but it does look like, yep, he is moving this way. Okay, that would have been a nice engineer pickup because obviously it would be 2 minutes before he could get another engineer out to get over there and build that. Nexus claiming air control after an ill sought out fight from Ajax. Not particularly fantastic. Another engineer going down over there. Nexus should be able to respond with his greater number of inties and kill off that bomber. No problemo. Looks like another drop for Nexus going over to that side to claim the expansion, and more transports coming out for Nexus. So he might be planning for some combat drops as well. Interceptor keyed over here. Not sure why. Maybe he saw that transport on the edge of a radar blip or something, but he is not going to be able to pick it up. Engineer has finished the manual reclaim and is now building a naval factory. So things are developing, but they are developing slowly because this is a 20K and it takes time to do things. It takes time to give rise to perfection. Looks like T1 engineers building a land factory there, then scattering the other 2 remaining in the cargo hold to grab these max extractors with better efficiency. Probably going to go 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, one way or the other. And then these 2 are going to build land factory, radar, land factory, and all of the mass extractors in order to make sure that that expansion is controlled. So even though he was slower to the expansion, he may actually catch up in total because he did have more engineers dropped to go and grab all of the things. Looks like we do have some floaty already out. It's going to start pouring across the map, leaving a path of devastation in its wake as these things do. And now we're going to start seeing some tanks being built. So even though proportionally it looks like there's not as much of a land threat on this map, you're going to want tanks, because tanks are going to be able to deny artillery, which will, of course, be coming in your direction unless you can get a number of frigates online, and frigates will deny those artillery. So already moving up into the nose of the home expansion. Looks like we've got loads of naval factories being built. Does Ajax have that scouted? Let's actually take this opportunity to go check out the ecos and see how things are doing. So we're going to go to Nexus. Looks like he has got reasonably good intel on most of the map, rocking 50 income on the mass side and 1,000 on the power side, versus 55 and 800 for Ajax. 6,600 reclaim versus 4,300. So Ajax is ahead both in mass income and in reclaim, but behind in power, so probably will not be able to field as much air as quickly as Nexus will be able to. So let's cancel out of here. Oh, we need to know. No, he does not have those naval factories scouted. So that is actually an ace up the sleeve for Nexus, as long as he doesn't get steamrolled by the vastly superior number of factories that are being built on the other side. Alrighty then. Got 3 land factories on the expansion over here. I hear you, Bomber. Where are you? You were over here, picking off the last of those artillery that had made it ashore. Now we've got Arty versus Arty. Let the spam begin! Nexus's CPU is going to die. I can already feel it in my bones. T1 Naval Factory coming online. Number 2 and number 3, 4 and 5 being built. Looks like a third is scheduled for Nexus. But we've already got a frigate out against the frigate, and Ajax is going to absolutely run away with the naval control in the early game. Now, one thing to factor in is the fact that since the waterways are relatively narrow, hover tanks are going to be able to make a large difference on this map. So if the naval units move too far up the choke point, the hover units can cut them off at the pass and then swarm them. The naval units are not going to be able to kite very well. However, naval units in general are stronger than hover. So if equal mass is put into destroyers or frigates, then, well, the hover unit stands no chance. Simple as that, and then you can build your cruisers and wreck your bases. You don't want to lose control of the Navy either way. Artillery strung out, spreading across the map in relatively haphazard fashion. We actually have 2 mexes down to a couple of artillery that came down this way. We've got another artillery shooting at one of the land factories on the front. Looks like artillery recoiling for Nexus in order to try and deal with this incoming threat. Frigate moving to the front line, should be able to deal with those at least until the other frigates from the enemy come into play. And then on the left, Ajax is going to be able to knock out a couple more mass extractors from Nexus's expansion. So not looking particularly great for Nexus at the moment. Overall, Ajax was a little more streamlined in his expansion. He is doing better with his build power, and he is succeeding with his unit placement. I'm seeing a bit more tan than purple on the map. Looks like we've got 1 T2 mass extractor with 2 on the way, whereas there's 5 upgraded mass extractors in the back of Ajax's base. Ajax is going to run away with the economy game as he continues to hamper Nexus's efforts to get eco on the ground. Nexus just not building enough tanks to try and deny this. He's got some on this other side, but he needs to move them towards the south to try and actually get things done. Engineers dropping out to these far corners to try and pick up more mass. He does know by now that there are several frigates in the center, so he has to know that he's being outproduced in Navy. He is not, however, building more naval factories. I would definitely be doing that if I could see what was going on the other side. Ajax queued mini P-gens again. What you say? I don't see any queue for P-gens. Ah, T2 P-gens. That may be what he meant. Yeah, there's quite a lot of power going down over there, which I dare say he probably doesn't need. But if he continues to rake in the reclaim and upgrade T2 mexes, which it looks like he's got another 2 over here going down, then he will need it in the very, very near future. Also, if he goes for a super heavy air build, he will use all of that power and then some. More artillery still streaming across into Blast Shield's expansions on both sides. Ajax excelling at manipulating the map at large. Looks like he's up to a total of 7 naval factories with 8 and 9 building, as opposed to 3 on the other side, along with having far more production overall. This is turning into a very bad situation for Nexus. If he doesn't do something soon, he is going to get stomped. Let's go ahead and go back and take a look at the eco. Alt F2, and Nexus at 71, 85 for Ajax. So about 10 mass ahead. And then as far as reclaim goes, Ajax has got 17k and 14k for Nexus. So Nexus is behind both by 10 in overall mass income and by about 3k in mass reclaim. Not a good situation to be in whatsoever. Also, his expansions continue to be wrecked by artillery. He is just not able to respond quickly enough. This is where a massive amount of APM comes into play. Because if you're able to queue and move and order and attack with all of these units at once, if you have 60 APM or 70 APM and your opponent is stuck at 40, then by default, you are going to win out on most of the engagements because your opponent will only be able to focus on 1 or 2 while you can focus on 4. Looks like T2 gunships are going to move in and do some damage, but we have mobile flak building in a support factory. Looks like T2 HQ came online somewhere on the map. Probably over here. Yep, there it is. We're now working on the 4th T2 power generator for Ajax, who is now pulling noticeably ahead in score. However, the T2 gunship raid is going to be super effective, knocking out a handful of T2 mechs on this side and continuing to raid with the massive air superiority that Nexus has held up till this point. He's also moving gunships over to this side to help with the push on Navy. Looks like these frigates are going to be able to knock out, well, I don't know. The factory is meat shielding. They might not get the engineer that is building all of that stuff. Ajax now moving ahead on heavy interceptor production with lots of assistance in 2 different areas. He is going to quickly overtake Nexus's total interceptor count, which might let him win. It depends on how the gunships are used to divert damage. Looks like frigates are now going to be few enough in number that Nexus is going to be able to kill these off. He's got a couple of torpedo bombers as well, so he's going to be able to make ends meet on the naval front. We do have Yenzines moving in, hover tanks available from that T2 support factory as well. Those are going to now start moving in to deal with the tanks that Nexus has built to deal with the T1 artillery spam. It is trump card after trump card, back and forth as she goes. That was a bit of a heavy economy loss for Ajax. Don't feel bad for him though, because he is still ahead on total map control, but we're going to take a look and see exactly how much damage was done. Ajax at 79 and Nexus at 85. So they have swapped places approximately. Looks like Nexus is at 2,000 power income and 20,000 reclaim versus 25,000 reclaim and 3,000 power for Ajax. So Ajax still noticeably ahead in several regards. I did not realize that I could just queue like an IRC chat, so that makes things a lot more quick on the swap back and forth. A clump of frigates over here, that is going to be bad in 2 regards. One, there's actually substantial amounts of anti-air there. A torp bomber will die without killing a single frigate. Even a couple of torp bombers will die to that amount of anti-air from that many frigates. Also, these streaming frigates coming in are not going to be able to challenge a group of that size. Torpedo bombers moving over to the right to check on all of the blips moving across the water, which in fact turn out to not be important things. Gunships moving in, but there's mobile flak rapidly moving up from the rear. Those gunships are going to need to get the hell out of Dodge if they are going to survive. I would hate to see Nexus lose that much T2 air to a handful of flak that is coming across the channel. Looks like T2 gunship trying to move in on the front line, but taking some pretty heavy damage and moving back without a single kill. Frigates now pushing up into the gap. Torpedo bombers are going to have to come in and try to make the difference, but the interceptor count just continues to grow for Ajax. Let's go ahead and take a look. The total number would be 80 on Ajax's side, and Nexus is at 75. So a slight, and I do mean slight, advantage goes to Ajax in the air game, but once you count in the meat shielding of the other T2 combat units, you can't really call it with any confidence. T2 gunships moving over to this side. They will be able to secure this expansion that Nexus is in the process of losing. There is a single T2 flak online, which hopefully can be killed without the loss of all the gunships. T2 torp bombers moving in, but the air is out of place. No! Ajax is going to get a free turn on this one. Might be able to take out every single torpedo bomber as he makes the pass. Nexus trying to come up for the meat, uses a little bit of stop micro, tries to move in behind Ajax, and he will be successful. That was a good turn, but Ajax now moving back through and shredding into those interceptors. Looks like a good solid turn from Nexus. Cannot call a winner yet, and winner goes to Ajax. He was able to maintain the second turn, continues to clump his interceptors well, and has a group of reinforcements coming up from the rear. Nexus fought that one out well, had an excellent first turn, but could not follow through on the rest of it. Looks like we've got T2 gunships still wreaking havoc, but now the interceptors are going to move, but that's going to be the turn that Nexus needs to win it. No, he didn't follow. 3 kills for the interceptors. That is bad news. Low saying stop micro didn't work for Nexus. No, it didn't. He stopped and he made the first turn well, but then he had too much scatter and didn't follow through with the second turn. Also, I think Ajax kind of predicted where the stop micro was going to take the cloud, so he was able to recover very well. Interceptors moving in on a singular T2 gunship, giving Nexus an excellent opportunity to get in behind and wreak havoc. Oh my. There's the Air 1 back, swapping hands twice in a matter of minutes. Now the gunship spam can continue. We move to T2. It looks like Nexus is going to be pumping out destroyers as opposed to the continued T1 from Ajax, and I take that back. There's a T2 HQ up here in the corner that has pumped out a cruiser. That's going to cause some difficulties because to a certain degree, Nexus has been relying on his T2 air superiority to win this Navy, and now there's going to be a cruiser in the mix. 2 cruisers in the mix, in fact. However, the cruisers are not at the front quite yet. The torpedo bombers still have time to make a difference. Destroyer going to be able to wipe out some of the incoming frigates as they move. Might be able to get this second destroyer out, but that kind of comes down to how much of a mass stall there is. Cruiser is still in the rear. Gunships will be of use momentarily. They will fail in the future, but for right now, he shall be okay. Leaving the destroyer on top of the water to make maximum use of the beam damage. Of course, this does leave the destroyer susceptible to the frigate fire, but at this particular moment, he just needs to get rid of as many frigates as possible, as quickly as possible. He cannot lose all of this production. Second destroyer out, will be able to succeed in holding. He's not even going to lose his factories. A few engineers, yes, but that is going to be all. Cruiser moving in, might have been able to get the T2 factory locked if he had been slightly more successful on this move, but as things are, there's going to be 2 alive destroyers to move in and decimate those frigates, both of them at basically full HP. So this cruiser is now going to be in a bad spot. Torps dropped, taken out immediately by the finishing blow of a frigate, and now the Navy might be in the hands of Nexus. However, Nexus has taken heavy losses in other areas. Ajax moving artillery through the front of the home island, so he'll be able to knock out those mass extractors. Yenzine's continuing to move through the left side expansion, while the nose of the right side expansion is now starting to feel the blow of the Zooies. Should naval control be gotten here, though, Nexus will be able to flex his naval control through the canals and be able to stop some of this hover spam from happening. Also, if he is able to get up and secure this build power, kill all of that off, he will be in good shape. Looks like destroyers coming out for Ajax now. A 3rd destroyer on the way for Nexus. He will get it out very shortly indeed. Both those destroyers moving up, finishing off some of the hover units on the right-hand side, and T2 gunships continuing to harass the units that are in turn harassing Nexus's structures. This is not particularly great. Looks like that was actually a successful T2 tank reclaim. Nice. T1 point defense will be able to deny any direct movements, but of course we'll be seeing T1 artillery over there sooner rather than later, so that is a temporary situation. 4 frigates and 2 destroyers versus 20 frigates. Pretty sure the frigates still win that unless the destroyers are able to kite it out. Is there sonar? I am curious to see what the intel ranges of these players are. Go look at Nexus. He has the blips. He either has radar or sonar in range. Ajax, also not great on intel, but he does know where most of the key things are, so he should be okay. Quick economy comparison. Ajax rocking 110 income on 40,000 reclaim with 4,000 power, 32,000 reclaim, 91 income, and 2,500 power for Nexus. So Nexus is still drastically behind on economy, but still holding his own as far as the unit mix and locations go. The expansions are starting to trouble me though. Ajax is gradually wearing everything down to where he's slowly assimilating portions of the map. It's not happening quickly, and I don't think Nexus is necessarily in a losing position quite yet, but it is getting worse as time goes on. We now have 3 destroyers versus roughly 25 frigates. Not pretty. Not pretty at all. Those destroyers will be able to rapidly chew through the HP, but there's just so much of it. Push come to shove, they can dip down into the water and evade the surface fire altogether, but then their torpedoes are going to take even longer to eat through the HP on those frigates. We've now got half health on 1 destroyer, 2/3 on the other 2, and frigates falling quickly. Looks like the torpedo bombers are helping as well. Red HP on 1 of the destroyers. Need to submerge that son of a gun. Don't want to lose it, but it is gone. It is too late to save it. Couple of Yenzines in the back, but those are slowly but surely being overtaken. Now got some units on the right to deny that hover, but that many Yenzines will probably be able to kill off the T1. And on the left side, Ajax is just about completely in control of the expansion. I can understand Nexus not wanting to fight this out. There is a cruiser over there that will wreak havoc with his interceptor cloud, but he does now see that the cruiser has backed up. He's going to move in and try to engage, swoop in behind on Ajax's inties. A little bit of a bad turn there, though. He's going to overshoot. No! Ajax going to swoop in behind for a perfect turn and follow through. And he's bringing more interceptors from the other side to join in the fight. However, Nexus's air numbers advantage is just too strong. He is going to be able to wipe out all of those inties and secure control once again. That is a hell of a lot of interceptors to be fielding at once. We've still got 2 destroyers online for the south side, 1 for the north. Ajax slightly behind on those numbers, but he does have another destroyer out now, so it's 2 versus 3 with the air still in Nexus's hand and Nexus still spamming torpedo bombers. So there is still a chance here. There is always a chance, no matter how slim. There's the cruiser, there's the black fire. That is exactly what you want to stay away from. Interceptors falling 3 and 5 at a time as that flak tears into the groups. Destroyers moving up, clearing out the engineers that are coming after this huge pile of reclaim. This is going to be massive for Nexus. If he can get engineers over there and reclaim all of it, he might have enough mass to be able to come back from this. He's got destroyers moving up, totaling 4 now versus 3 for the opponent, plus a cruiser, plus a lot of frigates. Those torpedo bombers may still be able to make the difference. He's now got more than 5. He can actually key up, go kill the cruiser on a suicide run, and if he did that, then he would be able to secure the Navy win, at least until another cruiser was built. But no, he's gonna move his inties over flak. Why? Why do you do this to yourself? You put yourself in a potentially winning position, and then you just sacrifice your units needlessly. 3 destroyers up. Frigates moving into front for the other destroyers. That one is in the red, so not good on HP. He's going to have to retreat into his corridor. Cruiser staying up on the back end. That's going to be able to pick off torpedo bombers that hit the front, but not going to be close enough for a solid snipe from the torps. Looks like 4 secured going after the destroyer there. Lost 1 destroyer, but the red HP one, strangely enough, is still alive. It is now 3 versus 3 plus a bunch of torps. And air is moving in. Seriously though, dude, just go snipe the cruiser. There's literally only one. He's building destroyers. Why are you continuing to throw away your torpedo bombers when they could be saved alive? Alright, destroyer's gonna go down there. Crossfire from another. And there, nope, still alive. Thank goodness for veterancy, 21 HP. Oh my, that was a shift. We've got 4 destroyers alive versus 1 on the other side. And Nexus might just have enough air to continue to deny if he didn't keep flying over flak. Ah, you're gonna make me want to put my head through the desk. And another terrible turn. Ajax moving in to try and secure the air control. I think he's going to be successful on that one. Got 5 destroyers versus 1. 2 need to move in, secure the naval win while you have the upper hand. You've got to do this to save yourself. Looks like we've got Nathas moving over to the right and headed for the expansion. Nathas taking out T2 mass extractors left and right. T2 gunships over here harassing. Now that Ajax has secured the air win, he's going to be able to eradicate those, but they have already done a substantial amount of damage. Got T1 point defense going down, but far too late. T1 power generators in the back will be threatened. We've now got total mental blank. Yenzines moving through the rear of the base. Thankfully, a lot of those mexes still are not upgraded, so it's only T1 mexes going down. That is going to be good. But on the naval front, we're down to 4 destroyers versus 2. Those frigates really making a difference as meat shields on the front end of the Navy. There we go. Let's queue back and go take a look at the economies as we move. Ajax at 125 with 4,400 power on 50,000 reclaim. Nexus has finally caught up, 52,000 reclaim, but only 77 mass income on 3,700 power. And he is actually going to lose another T2 power generator. Buddy, you got to overcharge. I don't think the ACU is in any danger of dying, but you don't want to be sitting there. There we go. Come on. You can do this. Another generator goes down. No. Nexus is going to have a hard time coming back from that one. This other generator is going to die as well. No, focus fire at the tanks. Focus fire at the tanks. There's the kill. See what Nexus got knocked back to as we refocus on the center fight. Ajax still at 44, 2,100 for Nexus. So he is not going to power stall, but he is going to have to gain on mass in order to not do so. So that put him in a bit of an awkward position. Looks like torpedo bombers are now out in force for Ajax since he has 1 air control and he is going to be able to eradicate this Navy. This expansion is now completely under the control of Ajax, and he's also eliminated several of the mass extractors on the right-hand side. So Nexus is just slowly folding. He's going to take the Control K option since he sees that he's lost Navy and air. That was well fought on both sides. Well done indeed. They're going to have to play again. Yes, they are. We're going to get to see another map. That is going to wrap everything up for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, feel free to drop a like and share it with someone. If you want to support the channel, catch the streams, or join the Discord, check out the links in the description. Thank you all for being at least partially insane, and I will see you in the next one.